Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Well, it is another Monday, and here we are hanging out together again. And I just love seeing you guys. Squish, can't wait to see you in person soon. But all right, so I got distracted because Heather P wrote autumn in Scotland. We have the aurora borealis.
Beautiful.
How amazing! I bet that's beautiful. And I see everybody popping in now. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. It is Empowering Women Night, but all are welcome. And I kind of wanted to talk about that for a minute before we get started on the topic for tonight, and kind of a recap of the years we've been doing this. And I don't know exactly how many years we've been doing this. A couple years?
A couple, I think. Yeah.
It's been about a couple of years now that we've been doing this, really taking a look and bringing someone in from history that made an impact and opened doors for us. And really, it's an exercise of it's kind of a series. I don't know, but every week we can't go backwards, and we can't go backwards. We are awakened a little more every week as we learn something new, or someone's story it ignites us also to make changes in our own lives, or be more brave, or be more understanding, or by learning some of these stories, it's like being able to ignite our empathic selves of understanding, and knowing that we all come and we all experience stories, our own stories here, and our stories mean something for forever, right? We impact our own worlds with our own stories, but we are together. We come and we look at these stories together of those that made history on some level or another, and really some of the things that we've learned and heard about, and that people have overcome, so that we can be free. And what are we doing with our freedoms that we have? And I know that we're not totally free. We're not free until everybody's free. But what are we doing with those freedoms? So I'm curious to know if you guys have any thoughts on this. But I just think I was just thinking about it earlier today, and how, wow, these nights of awakening and expanding. And I know my life has totally changed since we've been doing these.
Absolutely. Yeah, mine too. And I think it has to do with, too, like you said, kind of taking stock of, okay, what not really what have I done, but what more could I do? And it doesn't have to be, as we've seen in some of these stories, right? It doesn't have to be all the time these big, grandiose things. It can be in just small ways that have a ripple, or make that ripple kind of happen, so that it makes somebody else know they can do it too, and they can do it too. And I think even the fact I was talking about, I think it was yesterday on the Sunday show, I was talking about how so many of the people that have been with us all these years, they have their own channels now. I mean, just even seeing stuff like that, where it's like, oh, they did it, I could do that too. Or cards, making cards. I mean, I know you guys have inspired me in that way. You guys did that. That seemed like fun. Maybe I could do that. Things like that, where it's just, it doesn't have to be a giant thing. It can really just be living your life in a way that you set an example, or that you do something that maybe is brave for you, and it inspires someone else to be brave in their life in a similar way, or even a way that, do something they've always wanted to do. So that's the way I think I've changed. Because I mean, you can come away some weeks and be like, I haven't done anything with my life. What the hell am I doing with my time? This person did this. But it doesn't have to be those giant things. It really can be doing your own little, whatever's brave for you, and whatever has been difficult for you, and overcoming that.
Mhm.
I think that's what it's done for me.
I like that. What's in your life that's been difficult and that you've overcome? What have you been brave in your own circle? We don't have to be as brave as Joan of Arc, but
Right.
you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
in our realm of brave, what have you
Mhm.
been brave? Yeah.
I agree. It's very motivating to hear all of these stories. And for me, I can't believe how much I'm learning. I'm learning every single time we do one of these shows, no matter who's hosting. I'm learning from the person or event we talk about. I'm learning about it maybe for the first time, or when if I'm hosting and researching it, you get in a bit deeper. And I can't believe what I'm learning. And then what's exciting is I'm sharing these stories now with people who are not in this community. I have references now. I'm educating myself on these women and these historic things about women and the movement and all that kind of stuff to other women or men that haven't heard of these people. And so that's growing, right? It's not just here, it's also out in, my in the other world.
Mhm.
And watching the excitement on their face when they hear about this new person they didn't know about. And that is wonderful because knowledge is what we need. And we know that after all these things we've talked about, that these women in history were never really given credit at the time
Mm.
or even acknowledged as a human at the time, right?
Mm.
I feel like we are embracing them and letting them know somehow, karmically, whatever it is, that they matter. And that's a very profound and emotional part for me. Where when we, I know we felt it together when we're talking to some of these women that we read on. It's the acknowledgement. We know how much women have been marginalized in the past. History doesn't even record their names. It records the man, but not the wife, and not the daughter, but it records the man and the son, right? Their names.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like somehow we're stretching through time to the past and embracing them, and then stretching through time forward to share their stories. And I had no idea when we started the show this is this is what we were gonna get, but boy, it has been a blessing.
Yeah. And I just, a shout out to the family here too that comes every Monday and sits with us as we go through these stories as well. And that we are still in the movement of awakening and kind of birthing out of this repression and oppression that has been placed on us as women. And I know that we have our men here as well, and they're with us fighting the fight as well. Because again, if we're not all free, we're not free, right? So it includes everyone, and so we're going to look at another person in history. But I just want to encourage everybody, know that, every day we get another day to fight the good fight and break out of this oppression. And just by stepping into the energy of empowerment, we are changing that frequency. It's not that we have to go out to the streets. That's not necessarily what we need to do. But when we step into the energy and empowerment within ourselves, acknowledging that we are who that we are no longer oppressed or repressed. We are not accepting that any longer. That is changing the frequency of the whole
Mhm.
globe. So let's continue to fight that good fight every day. Well, thanks you guys for being here. All right. I just wanted to kind of do a little recap because,
Nice.
we've been, and to understand a little bit clearer what we're doing here. All right. So without further ado, let us go ahead and take a look at who we are going to be meeting tonight. And I'm super excited about this. So, all right, hold on. I got to click here. Share screen. Share screen. There we go. It worked.
Very nice.
I love when technology works, you guys. All right. We are, this is June Fairfax Davis Arnold. June Arnold. She was born in 1926 and passed in 1982. June Arnold is her title is lesbian feminist activist, author, and publisher. She is the daughter of Robert Cohen Davis and Cad Carter Davis, and she was born in Greenville, South Carolina on October 27th, 1926. All right, so let's go here. And I'm sorry, they're a little blurry, but the best I could do. After the death of her father in 1938, Arnold's family relocated to her mother's hometown of Houston, Texas. She attended Kincaid School in Houston and the Shipley School in Bryan Mawr, Pennsylvania, and made her debut at the Allegro Club Ball in 1947. She attended Vassar College in 1943 to 1944, but returned to Houston and completed her BA at Rice Institute, now called Rice University, in 1948. She earned her master's degree in literature at Rice in 1958. And June Arnold married Rice classmate Gilbert Harrington Arnold on February 3rd, 1951 in Houston. The couple had 5 children before they divorced in 1959. So they were together for 8 years. Tragically, however, their first son, Gilbert Harrington Arnold Jr., drowned while swimming at the Bayou Club in Houston in 1960. Arnold remarried on February 26, 1960 to Cyril Henry Emerald, a native of Chester, England, who also attended Rice. She subsequently moved with her children to Greenwich Village in New York City, where Emerald worked as a writer and editor. The marriage was short-lived, but Arnold remained in New York to pursue a writing career and study writing at the New School for the Social Research. During this time, Arnold also became very active in the women's liberation and lesbian separatist movements. Although she reportedly considered her writing career as secondary, she completed 4 novels, and the last 2 of which drew high praise in 1967. Her first novel, Applesauce, was published by McGraw-Hill. The book reflected the author's personal experiences, including her life in Houston and the Rice University area, but it also examined changes in personalities that occur when people marry. Here's another. I like this one because she has the Mad.
I know, Mad Magazine. Remember that?
Okay. Following Applesauce, Arnold moved to rural Vermont and founded a press called Daughters Incorporated, with partner Park Bowman. Daughters focused on publishing works that chronicled lesbian experiences and featured works by several notable feminist authors, including Rita Mae Brown, Bertha Harris, Marquis Wittig, and Joanna Russ. The press also published 2 novels by Arnold, The Cook and the Carpenter, which appeared in 1973 under the synonym. How do you say that?
Synonym?
Synonym.
Oh, synonym.
Yeah. Carpenter, and Sister Gin, which came out in 1975. And let me stop right there, and I'm going to change this. Here's Sister Gin.
Ooh.
And this is her first book that she wrote. And for those of you who can't read the back, it says, the face on the front of this book is June Arnold's, and Applesauce is her first novel. So, additionally, Arnold contributed to a number of periodicals, including The Village Voice, Houston Post, Quest, Plexus, Amazon Quarterly, Sinister Wisdom, and Sister Courage. She was also a member of the National Organization for Women and the Texas Institute of Letters. Daughters Incorporated, the press that she founded, really, she made it her job, literally, to bring stories of women to the forefront. And I kind of giggled because that's what not that I'm putting us on the same level of her at all, but I'm just saying that's what we're trying to do, is bring these women to the forefront. And that's what she did with her press. So I thought that was interesting. Also, in one of her books, I don't know which book this is, and maybe someone can tell us that has read her books, but one of her books, the whole book is written in non-gendered pronouns. And I thought that's interesting because it's way before.
That's way before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found that interesting. Okay. Arnold Arnold was a principal organizer of the first Women in Print Conference, which met in Omaha, Nebraska, August 1976. And I feel like our family member here, Chris, was there, because Chris owned a bookstore. I think it was a feminist bookstore. So during that time, so she would have been she knew June Arnold. Okay.
Wow.
Drawing together women from publishing houses, magazines, newspapers, bookstores, and printing companies and distribution services. The conference has been credited with significantly advancing the development of media branches within the women's movement. In the early 1980s, she returned to Houston to write a novel recreating her mother's life and time. Her efforts resulted in both a compelling story of a mother-daughter relationship and a richly detailed picture of Houston as a small southern city in the first half of the 20th century. Arnold died of cancer in Houston on March 11th, 1982. Her final manuscript was published posthumously as Babe Houston in 1987. Her second novel, The Cook and the Carpenter, was republished by New York University Press in 1995 and is widely considered a classic of feminist fiction. And I don't see Chris answering, so maybe she's not here. All right. So let's see what else, other pictures we have here. Just another thing of her. And then this is that last book, Baby Houston. All right. Okay. How do we, stop sharing. There we are. I'm like, how do I get out of this? All right. So June Arnold, beautiful character before her time. Earlier when I was working on who should come, who do we want to learn about tonight? And I stepped into her energy and she came right in. So I really felt like she wanted to be a part of this, because again, the correlation between us bringing through people and bringing light to women in history and what she did. And interesting enough, I didn't know this about that she had written one of her books in non-gendered pronouns, because when I stepped into her energy, she literally came in and she presented herself literally dressed in non-gender clothing. She didn't place herself as like totally feminine or totally male. Like it was just like, and I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. And then she said part of the oppression of I forget what the words are, but the kind of putting females in their gender roles, is, you make them all feminine. It's pink and it's frilly and it's dainty and it's talking softly, and it's like, you create this. They created this, and then to the boys, they made them boys, and they did this like this, and they said, and what she was saying with this, it was like, even with the roles that they placed on the boys, it was all about oppressing the women. Am I making it clear? Because it was really clear when she was showing me that how they gendered the boys, being tough and you wear, don't cry and like this, and then they overdid the sensitive. It was all about oppressing the women. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was one of something she brought in right away as well. And that if we, and it's okay. I mean, if it's okay, she's not trying to say, don't do this or don't do that or whatever. She's just highlighting it. Can you imagine a world that you didn't place these expectations on these babies, as they come in already, right? Oh, it's a girl. Put her all in pink, give her the dolls, give her the frills. Oh, don't get your hands dirty. You know what I mean? So it's like, what if we didn't do that and you just allowed them to be and not placing him in one role or another. So it's just a question, like, what if, she says.
Because you're trying to path someone, but without letting them explore themselves. You're telling them, okay, you're female, so you're going to like dolls and wear pink, and you're going to be a secretary and a wife, and that's it for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it, but that you're basically just saying that this is it, instead of you can play in the mud and you might be an engineer or an astronaut or a physicist or something. They're predetermining both sides. Like what if a guy wants to be a dressmaker or something? Like in the past, you wouldn't have been put in that. You wouldn't have even had a chance to do that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And my hair is all tickling. It's like, why are they trying to identify everything? Why are you trying to label everything? Yeah. That's to keep order and that's to keep control, right?
Yeah.
That's someone or some things or people or whatever at the top trying to keep control of everything a certain way.
Keep the status quo. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it's so funny because this, as you were talking, Debbie, I have right there, putting people in boxes. She says that's exactly, and I just want to say too that her energy, I mean, I hate to put it in this way, but she seems so cool.
Yeah.
She's like the coolest person. She seems so relaxed, comfortable. Let's chat. Very open. She said the same thing. When they're constantly trying to put people in boxes, And what you're seeing today is those boxes being kicked, the walls are being kicked out, and people are saying no, because it's not it seems like it should be natural because we've done it for so long, but it's the opposite of natural for us coming in as being so everybody's individual, right? So how can you put someone in a box? But yet we try, and or not we, but society tries. And you're right, it's to keep the status quo, to not change things. We see how uncomfortable some people are with change. They don't like it. They don't like to be uncomfortable. Well, that's too bad, because that's what happens when things change. And she talked about, when you mentioned the village voice, she I could feel her energy like perk up. She was very excited to be included in the village voice. That was a real, a point of pride and an exciting thing when that happened. And she also pointed to this late 60s and early 70s as being people saw it as very chaotic, but she said for her, it was, you could see change happening, like day to day, you could see minds changing. And she's like, it was so exciting. And it's like, how could you not write about it? If you were a writer, how could you not feel that excitement? And she also said, never underestimate the power of a good sense of humor. It gets you through the rough times in your own life. It disarms the opposite side that you're on. It can really be such a great tool to use in getting your point across, and not seeming, kind of taking away what may feel as a threat. You can disarm people with humor. It's such a gift. And so she's just saying it's also a power. When you have a sense of humor, it is a superpower, because it can help you get through the darkest times in your life. And it can also, help you to make way where maybe you couldn't otherwise, because people are so stuck in their ways or whatever. It can really be such a great tool. But she's cool. I mean, that's the only way I could explain her. Like, she's a really cool,
she really is,
a cool chick.
And
she's really cool.
I see her as a child and her big eyes, and she's very observant. She watches people in a kind way, like to study and see how people behave. And I think she was noticing these constructs very early, and almost being able to pick out the people who didn't fit into them, and having an empathy for them, because I think she may have found herself in the same box that she didn't want to be in. But I just see her young eyes, like just watching everybody and learning. She's great, very empathic and sensitive. She's watching people with sensitive eyes and a great curiosity. So that's really cool. Very open-minded as a child, like to study people that way. I don't mean as an infant. I mean, she's getting older in high school and things like that. Just very observant person.
She's also giving me the feeling of being like, I think you touched on a little bit, Kim, that it's just so excited to be a part of the movement, to be part of the voice, to be part of being able to bring light to, women in history, and to be part of that new voice that needed to be heard. Yeah.
I'm hearing like what's missing from the movement today. And I'm hearing commitment. This sort of generation right now, or where we are right now, people's attention spans are getting smaller. So the commitment to the movement, like, can't just be a flash in the pan, or you do it 1 week and that's it. Like, as you were brought up earlier, Debbie, we got to think about this all the time.
So step into that energy every day, whether it's just intention that you're putting out there or action. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's also saying to go back, not only to things that she's written, but she's talking about women during this time. Go back and read what they were writing. And I was even seeing like Ms. Magazine and stuff like that. So it's kind of like even like articles, things that you could go back and that you can go back and look up and read, because a lot of the fights that they fought were having to kind of were having to retread because of Roe being taken away, and all of this kind of are going back to these old arguments. So she's like, go research how the women of that time handled these things, and kind of understand that we did this once, we can do it again. Don't be discouraged is kind of the feeling. It's kind of like, don't be discouraged, because we can fight these fights again. It's okay. That's fine. We'll fight it again. We can do these things again. And she's also saying, there were clearly holes that we didn't see where things could be taken away. So she's even saying like, so this time don't let it be taken away, or put in the right mechanism so that it cannot be taken away again for another generation.
Yeah.
But she's saying this is the way it is. And I think it goes back to this is why it came up, was because you said about commitment, that when you kind of take your eye off the ball, this is what can happen. And she's kind of like, but don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. Just get back on the horse, and we can do this. We can figure this out, and we can also make it more solid for the next generation. So it's okay. Just get back on the horse. Yeah.
Well, I freaked out when you said the Ms. Magazine, because they just came out with a book that compiles all the magazines.
Interesting. Okay.
It just came out. Yeah.
Wow.
I should have it in the mail tomorrow, in the box tomorrow.
Beautiful.
So you're already doing what she said to do.
Well,
I mean, it's like read these things that these women wrote, because they were there. They did it once. You can do it again. It's like just.
Well, I mean, it'll certainly give us unlimited women to talk about, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and anything you do repeatedly, you get stronger, right? You know more. So the more the women have to do this, the stronger we get each time. And we're learning and seeing where things could slip, as a collective. And the way that women are banding together right now across the whole country, my hair's standing on end right now. It's electrifying. We haven't seen this before, and it's because of the digital age, where we can talk to a woman and find out what exactly is going on in just about any country of the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
And real stories, right? Not what the news is feeding us or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's spectacular. Like, I'm full of goosebumps right now. It's extremely energizing.
And I do want to say that we have gone forward. From the 60s, 70s, 80s, the movement has progressed. The energy has progressed. And I hope Chris is okay if I share the story. But when the first Ms. Magazine came out, she got it and she had it on her desk. She worked in higher level at the airport or whatever. So she had it on her desk. And she was severely harassed by the men due to the magazine, like fish head left on her desk, and she got severely harassed by the men because of this Ms. magazine. And so nowadays, if we put a magazine in, and it said, full on, I'm a feminist on it magazine, we wouldn't be harassed anymore.
Mhm.
We wouldn't have a fish head on our desk or something like that. So we have shifted. There might be feelings about it. They might judge you on a level or whatever, but you're not going to be harassed. So there has been a change. So we are going this direction. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but how horrible that the men were so threatened by a Ms. magazine that they would harass her like that.
It's fear-based. It was uneducated fear that they were, why is this woman, what does that mean to me as a man? Am I obsolete? Well, no, nobody's saying that. It's just women want their own independence and all these other things, right?
Mhm.
And it just takes time, and it's also on us as the adults in the room to ensure the children, the grandchildren, and the other generations coming up aren't taught the old ways of discrimination and sexism and all that kind of thing. So it's really on all of us. If you hear something, say something. Or if you hear, you know what I mean? Like, we've still got to get involved. If we see, like, if let's say there was a man in the office who made fun of a woman because she had a Miss magazine, call him out, say something to him, like, hey, you don't have to be like that. It's actually okay. Have you ever seen the magazine? Take him through the magazine.
Yeah.
Show him it's nothing to be afraid of, right?
Yeah, and they're like, you belong in the kitchen with your bare feet.
Right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's just,
But yeah, you would confront them these days. They would be,
and it's just
brought up for
education.
harassment.
All fear is someone not knowing or trusting, right? Like they just have to know it's okay. No one's trying to take anything from men. Every woman just wants to be able to have her place too.
Yeah, that's right.
And
So-
there are lots of kids coming up and young men and all that who are very open-minded and don't have any of that old way of thinking, which is so great because they're the ones that are going to help us too, right?
Right. Exactly. It's interesting because she's showing that, and it's kind of going along with what you're saying, Andrea, because she's showing like these younger generations coming in, and even like kids that are like toddler age right now, like Gen Z and the generation coming after. She's talking about a lot of these women and it's not like every single one, but a lot of these women were women who were around in the flapper age, the flappers, where we kind of got, we made a lot of strides with like birth control, and women were kind of cutting their hair, and it was a big time of rebellion. She's saying a lot of these women are coming back around this time, and she's like, you have no idea the force that they're going to be reckoned with. I mean, they really are going to be a force to be reckoned with, because they are extremely powerful. But she's also talking about they were also powerful in their time because they have a certain maturity of spirit, if that makes sense. And they've come in again to kind of push everything forward again. So they're going to be amazing. Because she's talking about these women they are really, really like forceful, outspoken, not afraid at all. And so although we've seen that in like pretty much, every generation, a version of that, but it's like, it feels like all of them, it's like they're just like this wave of just really, really forceful women coming in. And and she's saying there's a lot of reasons for it. I guess she doesn't, there are reasons we're not grasping yet, but a lot of them have to do with rights and women's rights and women's pay and things like that, and reproductive rights and all of those things. But it's like they're the period at the end of the sentence. And I'm talking about the United States right now, but they're like the period at the end of the sentence. It's like, we're back. We're gonna shut this down. This is how it's gonna be. And interesting.
And and because I know my 8-year-old granddaughter is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And it was so funny, Diane, because when you were writing that, I was thinking that about my granddaughter who's 9. They're just, their whole mindset is so different. Like, they don't have the challenges that we had at all in our thoughts of who we are and what we're supposed to do or like that. They're like, this is who I am. Get out of my way. Type of feel. Like, it's just so different. And Celtic Seer says, who's 3, observant, very okay. Because I also, even the boys are different. The girls and the boys coming in right now are just so different. And it's not that they don't have to learn. They just are. They just are coming in with that force and knowledge of like, what do you mean you're gonna like, no, this is or this is what I'm gonna wear, or whatever. It's just very, I noticed extremely how different it is. And then my granddaughter Farah, who's gonna be can you believe it's already been almost a year in November? Like,
oh my gosh. Oh wow, that's crazy.
It's gone so fast. Anyways, she if she's not happy with something, she's not a screamer or a crier, but she can't talk or anything yet, but she'll get a look on her. She's like, what? Like, no, that's not right. Like, so she's already standing up for what she feels is right for her. And she's not even 1. So they're coming in like that.
Yeah.
They'll be the ones who refuse to get into the box. They'll just refuse. They'll just 100%. Flat out refuse, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I feel like June feels very contemporary. She feels like, I don't know if it's her soul is this contemporary soul, no matter what generation she's in, like in her experiences throughout time. But I feel like if she was here today, she would be very contemporary to our age group and to our, like, she's, I don't know if it's timeless or ageless, but she's very contemporary. You put her back in the Victorian days or in ancient Egypt or in the 60s here, whatever. I feel like she's someone who is just with the times, or actually a little bit ahead of the times, whatever point of time she's ever come in. She's like, I feel like if she was sitting here talking, which she is, but I mean, it would be very modern. It would be, it would be like, she is my contemporary. So it's a really interesting energy. I have not felt that before with anybody else.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a better way of I think when I said cool, I think that's what I meant. You put it in a much more elegant way, but I think that's what it feels like. It just feels like she's just this cool friend that you have and stuff. And and yet she passed away in 1982, right? That would put her in a couple of generations back. So she
feels very
interesting.
Present.
Yeah.
Very current, very modern, very contemporary, very just with it and on it and in front of it. Like she's really cool.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Cool. Yeah, this is a really good pick. And I think for this time as well, because I think you have a lot of women kind of wringing their hands and being like, okay, what the heck is going on? But she's like, that's okay. We'll just do it and do it better next time. That's all right. We've been challenged before. This is okay. We'll get through it. We're going to do it.
She's a great coach on the sidelines, right? Like coaching us all on from where she is now. Like, don't be discouraged. Let's get into the next play. Come on, guys.
Yeah. And also getting us to refer back, to how did they do it? What did they do right? And we can use that again. It's like, it's like a football play. It worked back here. It can work here. It's okay. She does not seem rattled at all by the stuff going on right now. She's just like, we'll just do it. We'll do it. We'll make sure it's airtight next time. That's okay.
And she wants to encourage everyone to read.
Mm.
Read.
I know that feeling too, Debbie. Yeah.
And like you mentioned, reading what the women of the time wrote before her, and anything we can get our hands on prior to that too. Although a lot of women didn't use their name when they wrote books way in the past, right? They used a pseudonym, and we don't even know about ancient scrolls. If any woman, it's just like how can we get this information that women wrote from a woman's point of view,
Mm-hmm.
and learn from that?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's excited. She's excited that we are doing this, and that there's so many of us that are moving this energy in a positive direction. She's like excited to be part of the team.
And really encouraging, like, don't get discouraged. There's nothing to be discouraged about.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be all right. We did it before, we'll do it again. That's kind of her vibe. It's just like,
I like it. Mm-hmm.
we did it before, we'll do it again. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I just keep hearing over and over, encouraging you, anyone listening, watching, or someone write your story. Write your story. Write your story. Your woman's story, your female story.
Your story is important.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Way back years ago when I first made a website, I put I think it's still there somewhere on the website. I kept the tagline going, but that your story is important and worth taking the time to translate and look at, and your story is important. So I like that. And
you never know how your story will affect someone, and it can make a difference. Like, I've heard lots of stories and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, you should write that. Oh, no. I'm like, I think there's a lot of people that want to hear your story. Yeah.
Write your stories.
Mm-hmm.
Write your stories, everyone. Do your memoirs, do your story. We all have a story, and it's unique to you, and it's beautiful, and it's moved energy on this globe. It's helped with the shift, no matter what. So write your stories. And yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, June.
Yeah, thank you, June.
She's just a great spirit, great soul.
Love her. Well, everyone, thank you for coming and hanging out with us again on this Monday night, and stepping into the empowerment of another woman's story, and hopefully that'll empower you for yourself. So I think next week we are on Kim's.
Yeah, we'll be on mine,
or maybe all of ours, because now we're trying this. This thing where it can.
That's true. Yeah, I'll be hosting.
Yes, StreamYard allows us each now to put the show on our channel, even though one person is actually hosting. So Debbie's hosting today, but I think the show is actually playing on all three of our channels.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's the first time we've tried this. So
people in the chat get frustrated because they can't see all the chat like we can. They can only see the chat that's in that particular channel.
Oh, okay.
So it is a little frustrating to them, but more people do get to see it that way. But anyway, so we'll be streaming to all the channels, but Kim is hosting. And so we'll see you all next week. Shine your light, everyone, and blessings. We'll see you then.
Bye, guys.
Yay.